It seems obvious. You and your ex are meant to be. But no matter what you do or say, they just don't see it that way. Why can't they see what's right in front of their face? Well, the truth is, there are probably several obstacles that are preventing your ex from changing their mind and coming back to you. And until they make that mental switch, you really have no chance of winning them back. Now, while some of these reasons will be basically impossible for you to get past, others are actually quite easy to overcome. So if you do want a second chance with your ex, keep watching and I'll tell you exactly what you need to do to make it happen. I'm Brad Browning, author of The X Factor and YouTube's favorite breakup coach for nearly 15 years now. So please trust me when I say that in practically every situation, there is still a glimmer of hope. That is, at least if you're able to keep your cool and follow the plan. Now, we are going to talk about the plan, but it all depends on what's holding your ex back from giving you another chance. So let's go over some of the possible reasons here. Now, we'll start with possible reason number one: you were smothering. Now, this one is a very common issue that does crop up a lot in relationships. One person is smothering, controlling, overly attached, needy, dependent, or really just, otherwise overwhelming towards the other person. Now, you may feel that, you've done this out of love, and while that probably is partly true, it's often driven by other factors as well. So what it typically means is that, at least on some level, you have some anxiety around romantic relationships, and in order to deal with that, you try to hold on to your partner too tight and you don't let them out of your sight. Now, don't worry, like I said, this is a very common issue that many people deal with, but that doesn't mean that it's okay. If this behavior was one of the main things that drove your partner away, then they're probably not going to change their mind and come back to you until you've taken some steps to change this. Now, this can often be a very difficult hurdle to overcome after a breakup. How do you show your ex that you're not going to smother them when the two of you aren't even together anymore? Well, first off, you really need to look at how you've been treating your ex since the breakup. Have you been displaying any of the same kind of behavior that they took issue with in the relationship? Maybe you've been calling them a lot, reaching out and not getting an answer. Have you maybe insisted that you remain in contact despite their objections? Well, you need to stop anything like this right now if you do still want a second chance with your ex. Because part of the issue with smothering is that it crosses people's boundaries and it really makes them feel disrespected and pressured. And as a result, they start to associate you with these feelings and they want to get as much space as possible from you. And breaking up is one of the biggest boundaries that you can set. So if you refuse to accept that boundary and you keep reaching out to them and bugging them, then you're going to lose them point blank. But if this is your problem, thankfully it is one that's quite easy to solve, at least on paper. Just give your ex plenty of space. Show them that you don't need their constant attention anymore. Allow them to heal and reach out on their own terms. Now, the real test comes when you start to reconnect with your ex. You need to leave the ball in their court as much as possible. You need to show them that you're independent and you respect their need for time alone. And really, the thing about smothering is that it creates a vicious cycle. You hold them too close, so they pull away. So if you are able to fight this instinct, then you're going to find that your ex is actually going to give you more closeness than they would otherwise. So really, this is an opportunity to rebuild this relationship without that push-pull dynamic that was such an issue for both of you last time. And reason number two, there's something getting between you. Now, obviously, this is a pretty broad category. One of the most common issues is, that maybe you have a problem with drugs or alcohol, maybe an untreated mental health issue, maybe you're a workaholic, maybe your families don't get along or approve of the relationship, maybe you live in different places. But really, any external factor that's not directly related to the relationship is essentially what we're talking about here. Now, the good news is that these issues do exist outside of the relationship, essentially anyways. So if you can remove them from the equation, then in most cases, your relationship is going to just naturally fall back into place and things will get going again. But obviously, it's never quite that easy. So the first step is going to be identifying the issue. I think, deep down, you probably know if this applies to you in your relationship, but it is also quite common that you'll be unwilling to admit and own up to something like this because it's been around for a long time. Sometimes, even longer than the relationship itself. But you do need to think about, what your ex has actually said during the breakup and during other fights that you had. If they kept bringing up your drinking or the way your father always insulted them, the fact that you work 70 hours a week, then that is probably the root of your problems. They probably weren't saying these things for no reason. Now, I know it would be great if you could have your cake and eat it too, just never deal with the issue, sweep it under the rug and get back together and everything would be perfect. But, guess what? These are real issues and you're going to have to face them if you are going to get a second chance. So really, take a good look at your life and identify the things that pushed your ex away. Don't shy away from the difficult stuff. Face it head on and address it for once and for all. I'm not saying that you need to completely change your life overnight. In most cases, your ex really just needs to see you making a sincere, consistent effort to change, and that's going to be enough to get them to rethink their objections. So really, the only thing standing between you and your ex here is you. Now that said, sometimes some of these issues are going to be just impossible to solve. Maybe you have different religions and cultural backgrounds that make it impossible for you to be together. You can't just snap your fingers and change that as much as you want to. Or I don't know, maybe you're a touring musician and they need a partner who will be there for them in person every day. And in that case, you might just be fundamentally incompatible. Now, it can obviously be hard to admit, but look at these issues and determine whether or not they're actually solvable. Because only then are you really going to find a path forward. But now on to reason number 3, which is you broke up with them. Now this might sound odd, but it's actually a very common issue that we find when people are trying to get their exes back. And many people think that if they were the one who ended the relationship, then all they have to do is ask their partner and they'll come running back. But often they find that it's not that easy. Because you see, the thing is, breaking up can really shatter someone's self-esteem and the trust that you've created over time. So now, they look at you differently than they did before, and it can be really, really hard for them to see you the same way again. Remember, a relationship is about trust and safety, and by breaking their heart, you've shown them that you're no longer a safe place. So they fear that if they let you back in, then you're just going to hurt them again, and they're going to end up alone and embarrassed. Now that said, this is still one of the better scenarios for you to come back from on this list, so don't worry too much if this is your situation. The important thing here is to address the elephant in the room with your ex. But, please don't just call them up and blurt out your feelings and beg for another chance. You need to plan this out a bit. Think about why you decided to end the relationship. And, don't be afraid to dive deep here, because often it's more complicated than a single reason. There's a lot of factors that go into a breakup. And then ask yourself, what's changed? Why did you decide you want them back? And why are things different now that you've broken up? And once you can actually answer these questions, then you're ready to have a conversation with your ex. So obviously, you're first going to need to apologize to them in a major way, because as I said, even if it seemed like the right idea at the time, this was a huge betrayal on your part. And your ex is still hurting from this, really no matter how long it's been since the breakup. So you need to really empathize with them and tell them that you're sorry for ending things. And then explain to them, what was going through your head at the time. Tell them your reasons. And then tell them what's changed and how it's going to be different this time. Now, of course, this is going to be a heavy conversation, and it's really not one you want to rush into. So I always recommend, you reestablish contact with your ex first. So spend some time together, chat, reconnect, have fun before you get into the heavy stuff. But, don't just try to sweep this under the rug, because your ex is never going to change their mind about you. They'll still think of you as that jerk who dumped them and left them in the dust. So you really need to show them that you're not that person and that they can trust you again. Which ties in nicely to number 4, which is you cheated. Like dumping somebody, cheating is a huge breach of trust. And of course, this is on a whole other level, and it's something that you have to really work to overcome if you are going to get a second chance. That being said, studies have shown that despite what many might claim, most people are actually willing to forgive cheaters and give them another chance. Now, whether this is a good idea is really up for debate, but it is surprisingly common, and it is often something that people can get over and return to a happy relationship. As we've talked about, it's all about getting your ex to see that you've changed. So first off, you need to obviously stop seeing the person that you cheated with right now. I don't care if they have no way of knowing. I don't care if you two are no longer together. If they do find out you're still seeing this person that you betrayed them with while you're actively trying to win them back, then they're going to be done for good. And while, you might think that you've covered your tracks, clearly you're not as sneaky as you thought, or you wouldn't have been caught the first time. And really, even if you never do get caught, it's still going to hurt your chances. Because, reconnecting with your ex takes a lot of emotional honesty and focus. So if you're keeping a big secret like this, it is going to create problems for you. And next, you really need to remove yourself from the situation that led to the cheating in the first place. So, maybe you cheated with somebody from your gym. Cancel your membership and find another gym. Maybe it was a friend. Well, then distance yourself from that friend group. Really, you can't half-ass this one, or your ex is never going to trust you again. So take concrete steps that you're no longer around that person again, and your life is free of that temptation. Honestly, I've known people to quit their jobs or even move cities for this very reason. Now, you might think that's unreasonable, but it has worked for them. So really, you need to ask yourself how badly you want it. And like the previous item on this list, you do need to apologize to your ex wholeheartedly when the time is right. Don't make excuses, and don't assume that they already know that you're sorry. Apologize as much as you need to, and really answer any questions they might have. Reason number 5, they lost attraction for you. Now, attraction is a really complicated thing. It happens on a very deep level that we can't really access or control. We may think that we like somebody because of their eyes or their sense of humor or their body, but often we have no idea what really attracts us to this other person. Now, I'm not really a believer in pheromones, but I think that people do believe in them. The fact that people believe in them just shows you that we don't really have a great idea of what's going on internally that actually makes us attracted to another person, which, of course, is why it can be so painful and confusing when somebody loses attraction. We don't know why it happened or really what we can do about it. Now, are there obvious things that you can do? Yes, of course. I mean, if you let your appearance slip since you got together, you can take steps to remedy that. Lose some weight, hit the gym, take care of your hygiene, get a haircut, get healthier in general. And then there are things on the personality side. Maybe you lost sight of who you are. You gave in to stress, depression, bitterness, whatever. So now is a time to actually address these issues and start reshaping your life so that you can, feel proud and in control again. But, are these things going to magically change your ex's feelings towards you and just suddenly make them attracted to you again? Well, the answer is honestly, I don't know. Because, we don't really always know why this happens, so we don't always know how to fix it. In fact, some recent studies have shown that starting hormonal birth control actually changes who a woman is attracted to in a pretty major way. The research is really new, but I'm just saying that it can be affected by seemingly random things. But that being said, you should still do all of the things that I've suggested anyway. They could very well make a huge difference in your ex's attraction for you. And these things are also guaranteed to improve your confidence, which is, proven to be attractive to just about everyone. And, even if you can't win your ex back, in the worst case scenario, at least you've improved your life, your appearance, and your outlook. And that's a gamble that I would take every time, but, just don't necessarily get your hopes up. Now, if you are sitting there wondering if you're cooked, if your ex is totally done and you should move on, then I have something for you. Go to breakupbrad.com/quiz right now. I put together a free quiz that will answer these questions for you. It only takes 5 minutes, and it will point you in the right direction if you're feeling lost. So again, take that quiz for free at breakupbrad.com/quiz. But for now, let's move on to reason number 6. You've begged and pleaded for another chance. Begging and pleading is one of the biggest killers when it comes to winning back your ex. And it actually encompasses a lot of what we've already talked about. Obviously, it hurts their attraction for you, it's smothering, and it causes them to put up walls to keep you out. Really, this can honestly do a lot to change your ex's mind about you in a negative way. Luckily, this is post-breakup behavior, so it's not necessarily something that will affect your ability to be a good partner with them once you get back together. But it is going to make it harder for you to get them back in the first place, really because of what it does to your dynamic. So if you are already guilty of this, then I'm sure you probably realize how destructive it can be. But what now? How are you supposed to change their mind once you've already begged for a second chance? Well, let's step back for a second and think about how they see you now. I mean, they probably see you as kind of pathetic, and they also see your presence as a potential roadblock between them and happiness. Every time you reach out to them, whether that's showing up at their house, calling, texting them, or running into them somewhere, they have reason to believe that you're going to make a big scene and demand things that they don't want to give you. So regardless of how they might feel about you, this is going to be a huge bummer for them and really mess up their day. So how do you overcome this? Well, first off, you have to back off and give them space. You really need to go full no contact with your ex from this point onwards. If your begging and pleading was really intense and repetitive, I recommend that you at least reach out with a quick apology before you cut things off. Just say something like, I'm sorry for how I acted. I realize now this is for the best and I'm going to leave you alone. I wish you the very best of luck. This can just kind of diffuse some of the tension that they feel so that when you do reach out again, after time has passed, then they won't go right back into the fight or flight mode. And from that point, do the opposite of what you have been doing. Leave them alone, focus on yourself, and start rebuilding your life as if you were over and done with. And if they do reach out, don't engage with them. Let them heal and actually process the breakup. And then let them start to miss you. As time goes by, they are going to start to forget all the mistakes you made and just remember the good things that you brought to their life. Honestly, it may be hard to fathom, but this really does work wonders to change your ex's mind in almost any situation. And in fact, it's what I'd recommend you do next in any of the situations on this list. Absence really truly does make the heart grow fonder. It will make your ex more attracted to you. It will make those big problems that you had to get when you were together seem much less important. And it will make them want you back like really nothing else can. All right, guys, that just about does it for this video. I hope you now know what you need to give up and when you need to take a stand and fight for your ex. While you're here, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and leave your questions and feedback in the comments down below. I genuinely do love reading all of them, even the hate mail. Thanks again for watching, and see you in the next video.